I've coached more than 5,000 people. People don't change unless they know the consequences.
Do you receive any negative comments?
Yeah, and I call men out. I call men out on their
What do you
weaknesses.
do in such a case?
I don't give a
Mike is a visionary entrepreneur, author, and business strategist dedicated to helping individuals and organizations to unlock their full potential. He has inspired thousands of people to elevate their mindset and to achieve extraordinary results. Do you get more attention if you use certain expressions or a certain style?
This is communication strategy. What I do on social media is that I use a vocabulary that triggers people. So let's say I use a vocabulary that says, you can't say that.
Absolutely
It's
not.
a very rough language, but at least I get your attention. Because I'm not trying to point you out, I'm trying to level you up.
It's not fair that if you're a man, you can do all those things, but if you're a woman and you start using all that language, being aggressive, you're a cool, the careerist bitch, right?
No, but you're right, but listen, you can. This is just a blocker. If you switch your vocabulary and people got an opinion about you, you got attention. I don't do comfort. I do results. So too much kindness breeds the lack of accountability. So if I'm too kind to you, you won't work as hard. Christina, you need to man up.
Okay. Let me continue a little bit quotes because, it's becoming so embarrassing to tell all those things about you and what you have achieved in life so far at such an age. Success is not in what you have, but who you are. That's a quote from Bo Bannett. And, it made me think you've achieved success in multiple industries and areas of life. So how do you personally define success? And has that definition changed over the years?
Good question. Yeah, absolutely. So let me just take the first definition I thought success was. That was external validation. So that means that was acquiring money, that was acquiring fame, that was acquiring materialism. So success for me when I was younger and looked up to people, that was, they had stuff I didn't have. While today success for me is internal validation. That means how I conduct myself, how I can stay true to my values, how I discipline myself, and how I live my word. But I love the quote or the saying from an old philosopher, and actually that was the godfather of personal development. And now I blacked out on his name, but it's going to come. What he said in his book, and I love that. He said, success is the pursuit of an worthy ideal, which means that success is just you having something you want and you pursue it. Then you are a success.
Wow, it sounds so simple. I believe that a lot of people, they just cannot make that first step, They say that fear, it's really big, it's really wide if we try to imagine it. But as soon as you take the first step, it's only 1 centimeter. And then you're out of that, original phase of being shocked when it comes to starting new things. Have you ever had maybe a male role model when you were much younger that you wanted to follow that lifestyle, or anything else that you saw success back then?
Yeah, absolutely. I had many. I looked up at movie stars. I was watching a lot of movies when I was a kid.
Give us an example.
Yeah, but Will Smith was one when I grew older. But Die Hard, what is it? Bruce Willis. I love Bruce Willis.
Classic.
Bruce Willis. I loved Sylvester Stallone. All the action heroes. I loved. When I grew a little bit older, again, it was more like superheroes, etc. So I looked up to them. But what I looked up to was more their characters, their courage, and the values they had. They were good people. They were not always doing good things, but their hearts were good. And they woke up on their journeys and they fought for the greater good. And I really looked up to that.
And do you still have a role model at your current situation, at your current age? Or you say that actually, no, you were over it, you grew up and you were able to find your own definition of self-success?
No, I do have that, but that's more like back in the wisdom. So I really look up to the Stoicism, right? Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, and the way they conducted themselves and the way they really taught us how to master our mind. Those are the ones I look up to today.
That's so exciting. When you talk about all this philosophy in the background, one would never assume that you're so into these approaches.
Yes. So you shouldn't judge the book on its cover, right?
Absolutely true. Well, I remember talking to a friend, one of my best friends, and he always said that he would work harder tomorrow. That was sort of a philosophy. And that tomorrow never came. So we were always talking about that certain thing, what he wanted to accomplish. And the years were just passing and it never happened. You know, tomorrow never came for him. And I was really surprised because he always found a really good reason why he could not make it. And, you know, the truth is that there will be always some kind of an obstacle, some kind of a limit, which will come up with the perfect environment for us to list a bunch of completely useless excuses why we should not do whatever is on our agenda. And you know, the longer we wait, the further we deviate away from that success. Which leads me to another really good question. What do you think are the most common, you know, the most frequently listed excuses people make that actually prevent them from achieving their goal to become successful, and you know, like how to overcome them?
Yeah, well, first of all, people are asleep. People are completely asleep, and they are being hypnotized by the society we're in and the groups they're in. And in the end, it all comes back to, you know, we're Homo sapiens, right? So we haven't changed for 200 to 300,000 years. We have the same brain. And our biggest survival at that time was our comfort, pleasure-seeking behavior, because the environment was changed. It's only within the last 100 years. If you look on a scale from 200, 300,000 years back until today, so what is that? 0.003% of the time the human brain we are carrying around has been on the earth, has gotten extreme comfort, extreme convenience. And we haven't learned how to handle that. So we are seeking comfort just by nature. So when we have an excuse, this is you having a comfort-seeking behavior.
Even if it's a bad situation.
Everything.
So we find it much more attractive or a safer bet if I know what's going on, if I know the environment around myself. That's what you're saying.
So what I'm saying, yeah. So at that time, waking up in that environment, you can imagine you would wake up, and if you couldn't find food, you would die. If you couldn't find water, you would die. If you didn't work, you were not in your tribe, you would die. Everything was life and death.
Yeah.
Right. So having that mechanism was great. Today, well, look at this. Look at the statistics. The health span, or the lifespan, is the largest it's ever been. So
Absolutely.
we have a very long lifespan due to machines and medicine, but the health span is shortened. So we are more overweight than ever. We have more mental illnesses than ever. So you could say, is it good or bad for us what we're having right now? Since the societies has become so convenient for us, we are now in a comfort crisis, which is also an author called Michael Easter is writing a book about that, and he's investigating that. And he came with a conclusion in his book, and he said, well, it's connected to depression and anxiety, depression, and a feeling of not belonging is connected with being not tested. Now, look at the societies today and look at our ancestors. Our ancestors, it was very normal for men, especially men, to be sent out in the wilderness. You know the hero story. In Japanese philosophy is misogi, right? The hero story. You've been sent out to the wilderness, figure out your own food, survive. You meet the nature. You have
Those men are on the verge of extinction, if I might add.
Yeah,
that.
and I'll come with a conclusion with this. There's a good point with this. So that's what we did at that time. We sent men out to become men. And those who came back, they came back wiser, right? So we were being tested. So today, I see as soon as a woman has her period, she becomes a woman. She is a woman. She starts much earlier than a man, right? Of course, she has to go through life and all these things as well. But men, it takes much longer. We have to be tested. We have to fuck it up in a way that women doesn't have to.
That's what you're telling your clients as well. Is it a push factor for them, you know? Because I believe that as soon as we see the first challenge, or even if you're getting really close to what you define as success, you put yourself into fight or flight situation, like a fight or flight mode, right? Is it true?
Yeah, it's true. But we must. I respect. We are different. I respect men and women. I respect both of them. But women has their ways and women have their ways. But men are not tested. Men has turned out to be complete soft these days, and that is one of the biggest reasons why there's so much discussion about masculinity, toxic masculinity. And in the end, a masculine man is someone who does something for the greater good, his community and his family, with strong values, and he's disciplined. He has integrity. And then you have the toxic masculinity, which is the one who does everything for his own good. But we are in a situation men can't fucking figure out how to be men.
Do you receive any negative comments?
Oh, God.
If you openly talk about what's not wrong, but something to be changed when it comes to men or even women? Do they attack
and
you?
I call men out. I call men out on their weaknesses.
What do you do in such a case?
I don't give a shit.
Okay.
No, I don't care. So this is, see, if I accommodate, so my job is to develop people into the best version of themselves. You can't develop on a lie. So, love is not lie. Love is not a lie. So if I'm your friend, Christina, and I love you as my friend, if I'm accommodating your weaknesses, I'm being a terrible person. But if I tell you, Christina, you need to, okay, not man up, but you need to man up.
Woman up.
You need to grow some chest, some hand your chest. You need to change. You can't possibly be happy in this situation. I call you weakness out. That's a good friend. So the way I communicate on my social media is that I'm using a vocabulary
It's
which
quite dramatic, isn't it?
it's needed. It's needed.
Do you get more attention if you use certain expressions or a certain style?
Listen, I've coached more than 5,000 people. People don't change unless they know the consequences. I'll give you a good example. I'm having classes, a lot of classes, and especially for entrepreneurs. So many of them are new entrepreneurs. And I ask them in a group, I say, all right, guys, how many of you, what is the chance that you're going to make 1 million euro this year? This is the first year, right? Or second year.
There we go.
Right? So 1%, 2%, maximum 5%. Then you have the delusional nerd over in the corner, 80%, but he's just delusional. But 5%, I said, that's great. All right, guys, let me ask another question. What is the chance in percentage you're going to make 1 million this year? Because if you don't, your family dies. Now you should see. Everything changes. Why? Because the man with the why will figure out the how. And we don't have a why. We are too comfortable to have a why. So we need to teach ourselves to find a why, which has to come, in my opinion, from internal validation, not external. Because if you always validate yourself from external circumstances, you'll end up just like I did, lost, completely lost. And it's a long way back, losing your identity and all that.
Wow, it's so important. But in the world, in the era of social media, if you have a look at even Gen Z or even younger people, the only thing what they can do is to copy, to imitate, and to find self-validation through the lens of others.
Yes.
So that's a disaster. So if you had a teenager, daughter or son these days, what would you do?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't blame any other system than my own at home. So, for example, I had a discussion with one of my clients. He was, 20 kilos too fat, to be honest, right? And she wanted to lose that fat. You can't even say fat anymore. What is that? It's also a weird thing, fat is fat. And she wanted to lose those kilos, but she was so busy complaining about, look at you guys, my daughter's being bullied in the school and la. So she was being bullied, but her daughter was also overweight. I said, but that is you. You are the responsible for your kid. Give her good food, give her some manners, right? So I believe there's a big thing going on in the world that people are not taking responsibility for their own shit. And that's what we got to do.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
We got to do that. So it's not your fault. I'm moody. No matter what happened, that's my reaction, right? Which is also Stoicism. I can only control my thoughts, my actions, and reactions. And people have not been taught this. We've been thrown into a capitalistic world where everything is about titles and fitting into boxes. But all that wisdom that we got from our ancestors is not really being taught.
Yeah.
At least not for me.
I think it's somewhere there, because we are told that human beings are using currently between 5 and 10% of their brain. So that's not much of the capacity. And imagine if we develop, then what else we would be capable of? But we just push it back, and that's another limit, what doesn't allow us to grow more.
Well, we talk about self-mastery today. To test self-mastery, you must be tested. You can't master self.
No one loves that.
But you can't, how can you learn? How can you teach a kid how to swim if you never throw them into the water? How? And here we are, human beings. We're so comfortable, convenient. Listen, I can literally just push one button in my house. It's warm. I can push another button. Did you know there's more than 7 million people in China that never leaves their homes?
That's trouble. That's
in
awful.
Their life. That's how convenient this society has been. So we are built to be tested. So that's also why Tony Robbins and all these great self-mastery and self-development gurus out there, they say that humans are more happy when we grow.
That's so exciting. Let me just continue with another rather interesting thought. Mike, you have this whole muscle tower with tan skin running around Marbella vibe all the time, okay?
Yeah.
While posting motivational nuggets on LinkedIn about self-mastery or anything similar to that. I'm sure that some people are questioning your lifestyle, your values, your communication, how you talk about the genders, how you talk about the physique and philosophy. So tell me, do you ever have an identity crisis with so many layers of what you define as success? Or is it just that you've mastered the art of flexing both your muscles and your mindset?
Yeah, no, so identity crisis I've had. I lost myself in that and I had to build myself up. So what I'm doing now, I'm using strategy. This is communication strategy. So what I do on social media is that I use a vocabulary that triggers people. People will be, you can't say that.
Who is triggered? If you could pick just probably some kind of a target audience, most of
So
all.
you can only be triggered if you have that weakness in you. All right. So let's say I use a vocabulary that says you're a fat bitch. That's a word you can't say. You can't, like in society, everyone like, what do you mean?
Absolutely not.
Right? You can't say that, but it's a very rough language. But at least I get your attention. So my message, I'm not trying to point you out. I'm trying to level you up because I have the solution. So I'm using language and vocabulary to get their attention. I'll tell you why. Because for 3 years, with the market there is out there, it was extremely saturated. And I tried to do kind things and teach them good things in a language that I could be called polished for.
That this is, I swear, that's the next thing that just popped into my mind, because you were always telling that you had a special way of, addressing people. And the thing is that we've been told all our life that the key to success and happiness is always being kind, right? Be kind all the time. Any literature that you open, you start reading it, it's all about kindness. However, in one of your recent posts that I ran into on LinkedIn, you were saying the following: I've been too kind for too long, both to myself and to the people that I've coached. So you've completely transformed from someone who lived in self-deception, right? We can say it, and comfort, to someone who thrives on discipline and discomfort. So tell me, now that you have, let's say, killed the old version of yourself, do you ever look back and miss that comfortable, or is there a new version of you which is always busy kicking ass to even think about any other problem?
Yeah, it's true. You move your comfort zone. So when I say I've been too kind, listen, I love people. That's why I talk to them in a way so I get their attention. I have love for humanity. I'm sad when I see people, they mistreat themselves, they end up in depression, they can't put up clear boundaries. So I'll do whatever which is within my power to use a language where I get their attention, right? Because a guy looking like me saying that, people will either level up or hate me, for sure. But what happened? So I put this strategy into work in a very aggressive manner within 3 weeks. I gained 60 clients through my DM, and I don't have many followers, from using that language versus 3 years.
Of being nice, huh?
Of being in a language, because people, listen, people would like to be talked to in a way so it eases up for them. I don't do that. I don't do comfort. I do results. So too much kindness breeds the lack of accountability. So if I'm too kind to you, you won't work as hard.
But don't you have that sort of a natural, let's say, feeling, the way we were brought up in our society, that if you say anything bad or offensive to another human being, you have to feel like shit?
Yeah, but here I'm a coach. So this is a role. I'm a coach. I will never speak like that to my daughter. I will never use that language to my daughter. This is a coach, this is a profession. So it's like an actor.
It's really not fair. It's not fair that if you're a man, you can do all those things.
You can.
But if you're a woman and you start using all that language, being aggressive,
God,
you're a cool, the careerist, right?
Listen.
That's not fair.
No, but you're right. But listen, you can. This is just a blocker. So I was anxious before I switched my decision. So my mission is to help people. That's why I came to that conclusion in my life. That's what I'm going to spend the rest of my life on. All right. So if you switch your vocabulary and people got an opinion about you, you got attention.
So you kind of break through that little barrier, right?
I don't give. So listen. I don't give a shit if people like me or not. So my goal is their result. I don't care if they like me. I just care if I like myself. So that's why I'm so thorough. You asked me if I mastered self. Oh my God, I'm not saying I'm not a master in self, because it's a constant development. I master myself. So I have 5 habits that I give to my clients, and I will tell them here on this podcast. But you guys, your problem is not education, information. Your problem is application and consistency.
I see.
That's people's problem. Accountability.
But how do they react on you telling them how they look, their physique? Because, it's extremely sensitive. Whether male or female, we just have that horrible feeling if someone tells us, if it's true or not. How do they react on that?
Oh, God, they listen, you can only react like that because you feel like that. So what I do, I remove their biggest addiction, which is comfort. And that's the one that's got to go. If you want to change, you have to have an objective reality. And
do they send you to hell?
So first of all, I never call out names. I never talk negative about women online, because I think that's disrespectful. I'm a man. But what I do, I speak in a broader sense, where I say, you, for example, if people, they comment something negative on my stuff. That's great. That's good for the algorithm. Boo-hoo. You helped me. Thank you. Thank you for my haters. That's great for me. But I will never mention that person's name. I will never go on that level.
Sure,
I stay
Well,
on my
that's
path.
business ethics as well.
It is, but it's just human ethics. But I'll use that example, and I will speak to that guy, to everyone, and there will be thousands feeling like this guy. And they will, if I can just catch the attention of 10 of them that has decided to change, I'm happy.
Wow.
Because I have the solution.
Well, you've built multiple businesses that were really, really successful. You're a serial entrepreneur. And it is actually shocking to read when I opened your website how many roles you had and, how many companies you co-founded quite successfully, how many people you were able to help with your consulting techniques. But let's cut the praising part, if you don't mind.
Let's do it.
I'd really like to know what the toughest challenge is for someone who's an entrepreneur. So in your case, what was the most difficult moment of your life as an entrepreneur?
There's been many. Actually, the toughest ones was to kill my darling. So when I exited Minto, I was not feeling well. I was in a bad place mentally, and I had to literally throw in the towel. For me, quitting is so difficult. That was one of the toughest ones. But I would say the toughest period I had was 4 years where I traveled the world and was on a flight maybe 2 times a week. And I lived alone on hotels in 10 different parts of the country, in the world. And that was, in the first year, was great. I was a rock star. Look at me. Again, external validation.
You were in your 20s or something
I was. But what happened was, Christina, suddenly you start to miss the small things. Like I didn't recognize the faces of the girl sitting behind the desk in the grocery shop. I like that, just to recognize one face, or a guy for that matter. I didn't recognize the brands of the milk because I was constantly in different countries. And, I couldn't make my own food. I lived on hotels. So
Did you feel at that moment that you were actually growing up, being an adult in a bad way, when you're really there to yourself and no one is there?
No, I think I felt more, I realized how lost I was because I've never faced myself. And that was a really big hit for me. The way I grew up, we were never grounded. I had a lot of shit I had to clean up, which I never looked at. And there I had to face it. I just didn't know it at that time. And that's why I got a tattoo, and it's an ugly one today. I got a tattoo today where, I put in home is where the heart is. And my heart was always where my family was. And that's where I started to miss my family for the first time. So I learned a lot on that journey, but that was the toughest period because, you have a business that it doesn't always go well.
Yeah,
like
for
man,
sure.
it goes like shit sometimes, and
Yeah.
you're like, you can end up in debt. I had a debt on 600,000 euros at one point, being in a hotel alone, trying to sell your stuff to shops that doesn't want to buy it, over and over again, meeting up to a team of 25 people who looks up to this young entrepreneur who's like, Mike is you have your own problems.
Well, being young in itself is already an obstacle. You are already judged. You are already put into a category that you have to be the racehorse. You have to work much more harder than anyone else. You have no experience. You are underpaid. Did you experience at some point of your life, let's say when you were in your mid-20s or second part of your 20s, that you got rejected or not accepted simply because you were young?
Yeah, but I didn't care about that. I didn't care
Good
much.
for you.
Yeah, no, I didn't care much about it. So my purpose was so strong. I just wanted to be a successful entrepreneur. So if those rejected me, there was a door next door, door next door, door next door. So I just kept going. That was never an issue, no.
Oh, well, Mike, if someone is serious about shifting their mindset and building discipline, do you have any step-by-step routine that, you would recommend to anyone in order to help them to stay focused and make a really good progress? And I'm talking about some kind of a solid recipe that you have been testing literally on your own skin for many years. Whether male or female, they can start following it. So would you mind sharing any of that with us?
Yeah, I can tell the one I coach all my clients now. So people think I'm doing, so I switched, so I do several things apparently, but my international coaching business is fitness. Like I make people shredded, literally shredded and disciplined. And I use these 5 habits. These are the 5 habits that people will question the most. And that's exactly why they should do them. Number 1, wake up 4 to 5 a.m. In the weekends as well. And people go, why? Because it's hard. Because it's hard, right? And if you want to go out, well, pay the price. Why? Because it's hard. That's it. Number two, immediately do something that disciplines you. I don't care if it's push-ups or whatever it is. Personally, I jump into an ice bath, like 8 degrees ice bath. And there's no day in the week that I want that. But I just do that right away. Number three, I study positive mindset. As long as it's just 2 minutes, I do it for 45 minutes to an hour, because your negative self-talk, the problems about your life, everything will start very quickly. But if you then study something that gives you a positive mindset, you can ride that wave, right? The next thing you do, you go to the gym. And why is that? Because again, before the negative self-talk will start to hit you, you're in the gym focusing on building yourself, self-love.
Is gym more for the mental challenge for you, or you really, really try to focus that you have a physical goal and you want to stick to it?
No, it has a side bonus. If you go to the gym, you train hard, you get a beautiful body. If you connect the next habit I have, but let me just explain the gym. When you in the morning, you wake up early, you do something disciplined, you study mindset. You're already like, what is going on? People, that's what the normal, lazy, comfort, pleasure-seeking people will do. Those who really need a slap of discipline, do that, because it will pull the best version out of you. When I go to the gym, I use it as my mental playground, because in between sets, I test myself. I push myself. So putting on a barbell squat, 6 a.m. in the morning, and you push yourself, you're like, ugh, but I do it because I know I need to win myself. I need to trust myself.
Is it getting easier over the years?
No, because you keep pushing you.
Well, that doesn't sound good. How do you want to motivate your clients then?
No, but that's the point. It shouldn't be easy. You're too comfortable already.
Aren't you getting used to this routine? So, our
get
body
to
and our
like
brain is getting used to things.
You get to like it. You get to like the version of you in it. And
Really?
Yeah, of course you do. Because you stand up for yourself. I know whatever happens, I'll show up. I'm so confident. I will show up. I have so much self-trust because I show up. I don't bend. It's non-negotiable.
So you start your day with a win. That's
I
a
stack
strategy.
my wins correctly. I stack my wins. And the next thing here, this is the hardest one. I track my macros and I stay on point. And that means your, X amount of grams of protein, fat, and carbs. So again, back to Homo sapiens in the days, they were on a 6 to 12% body fat year round. They were moving, hunting, searching for food.
Carbs barely existed at that
Carbs
point.
barely
All they had
existed.
is protein.
There was no processed foods, of course. Here, man, we were throwing Kellogg's, okay, no branding names, but we were throwing breakfast in our mouth just by looking at it. We just look at it, it comes to us. So you track your macros for the benefit of the health of you. All right? And that's hard, because what is it that we crave the most? Good feelings, comfort. What does sugar and food give us? Exactly that. So I track my macros and I'm on point, especially when I have a goal of going down in the body fat. And now comes the worst, and this is the last one. And trust me, everyone on my team, they level up, and I'm working with CEOs, and they're all shredded. They are all disciplined.
And what age group are we talking about?
Between 35 to 45.
Okay.
Right? We have youngers as well, but that's where they are. And they have kids and they have all that. But we teach them not only that, we also teach them values and principles. So the last one I give them is no vices. So no drugs, no alcohol, and no self-destructive habits. And if you look into the old wisdom, which is people, they don't do that anymore. I didn't do that. I got lost because I didn't know that wisdom. So that's why I'm sitting here and preaching it. I don't like to be a preacher, but I got called from a pond. It's called conscious congruency. When you start to listen to that little voice, Jordan B. Peterson talks about it as well. Many people talk about it. Conscious congruency means actually it will tell you what not to do. And then you'll start to listen to it and you'll kind of expel it. As soon as you regret something, expel it. Now you start to listen what it asks you to do. Hold the door for that lady. Pick up that sock. Don't eat that. Eat that. And when you follow that, you'll see you'll get into a high frequency mood. So no vices is laziness. That's a vice. Procrastination. That's a vice. Gambling. That's a vice. And overindulgence in pleasure. That is food. I don't care. Porn. Whatever. Pleasure. As a young man, pleasure of texting 20 girls at the same time. All these stupid pleasures you have. Because if you become a slave for pleasure, there's no way in hell you're going to beat guys like me.
Well, how would you explain it to your possible target audience if you're approached by young males in their 20s and all the hormones and all the expectations?
Yeah, but they have to go out and it up. This is how men become men. So that's what I said. Men has to go on their path. And it's not everyone who's ready. Only those who are ready comes to me. I can't coach everyone. So I typically coach there are some young dudes who just want to get ripped, but they don't come for the mindset or all that. They come for getting ripped. And life coaching is not existing because their awareness levels is very untested.
You know, it's really interesting because we always talk about people in their 40s and 50s that they have their midlife crisis, which makes sense, especially with males. They get a big car, they have a second home, whatsoever, they divorce, they have a new wife who's much more younger. But there is also the quarter life crisis when people are in their 20s and they're not sure what to do. And I believe it's something that is becoming more and more acute. So when we're getting really lost for the first time, leaving our homes, doing some kind of an education degree, but we do not know what we truly want. Did you have in the past such a quarter life crisis that you were extremely lost in your 20s and you thought that, no way, I have no clue what I want to do with myself?
No, I just wanted to be rich.
That sounds simple.
That's what I wanted. I wanted to be rich and famous.
That's it.
That's what I wanted. I wanted to be rich and famous.
Did you pretend to be rich?
No, I didn't pretend to be. It's hard to pretend to be rich. Either you have a watch that's expensive or you don't. So no, I was working hard to be rich, and I figured out that wasn't it.
But you told us when you were giving this really interesting masterclass at Le Roche for executive students that there was a phase in your life when you were running after nice people out at the street, asking them what they did to become successful or something like that.
No, I didn't. I sold mobile phones. I was not on the street
Oh.
asking. No.
Okay.
No.
I swear I remember you mentioned this.
Yeah.
That you were walking up to people who looked nice and you wanted to look nice as well. And then you were asking them some questions.
Okay. Now I'm with you. Okay, yeah.
There you go.
So yeah. So I was always curious. So if I met people that was on a higher level than me, or if I was, thank you, I'm sorry, or if I was in a dinner and I didn't know people, I would always ask them, like, what did you do? So I learned really early, modeling, acquire what you admire.
Did they respond to you, or you thought they thought that you were some kind of a freak?
No, because again, you come with a sincere energy, and you have confidence is such a important asset. You can't buy confidence.
We have to work hard for that.
That's gonna be earned, and confidence comes from self-trust, and self-trust is you doing what you said you would do, and that's why 4 words that saved my life from all my misconduct of myself. That was I say, I do. So
What
be
does that
your
mean?
word. That means, whatever I say, and also the conversation in here, I do. Right? So again, conscious congruent means you have your ego and you have your spirit. Right? We are born with a conscience that tells us. We know exactly what to do, but we are very wrapped into comfort and distraction, so we never listen to it. That's why people, they can't sit a moment for themselves alone. They're in the phones or in the TV. But if you sit with yourself and you just quiet off your brain, you'll have a conversation. If that conversation is way too negative, I can tell you it's because you're conscious incongruent. It means you do stuff that you know you shouldn't be doing. You procrastinate, you are together with the wrong partner, you eat fucking shit food, or you train too little, and if you have that talking to you, I bet you want to turn on Netflix. Who wants to listen to that?
This sentence is really powerful. It's really short, it's really sweet. And I remember you said once that you would even launch a clothes line that would have exactly the same brand name.
I say I do,
Is this still your plan?
Yeah, we're working on it. Absolutely. So you have
Amazing.
Nike, right? They have the payoff. Just do it. And I want to start something that can, again, coaching
Wow.
is a business for me, but I like to do
You never
products.
stop coming up with new things. We really love it. But let me switch to a little bit more serious thing, because I was doing some reading, and this month, the Center for Social Justice released a report that I have not been able to stop thinking about. This post was originally shared by Stephen Bartlett. He's the famous host of The Diary of a CEO. I listen to him every single morning when I drive to work. And the report says the following, so I'll be citing a little bit. Boys and young men are in crisis. Whilst the last 100 years have been marked by great leaps forward in outcomes and rights for women, in this generation, it is boys who are being left behind. Since the pandemic, the number of males aged 16 to 24 who are not in education, employment, or training has increased by a staggering 40% compared to just 7% for females. So how can we inspire then young males to take ownership of their future? That's one thing. And also, to break out of the cycle of that stagnation.
That's a good question. I think young men, they are lost because they are missing role models. There's, in my opinion, don't get me wrong, a soft man doesn't mean kindness. When you're a soft man, you're not a kind man. And when you're a soft man, you're running away from responsibility.
Oh, I see.
That's a soft man. So, and that was me. I was fake hard. I was running away from so
And
much.
you're so okay with sharing this
Yeah.
about yourself.
Oh, I got it. There's no way I can coach and be authentic if I haven't looked myself in the eyes. That's why I can sit right now and call out people, because that was me. And that's what I help. So I believe young men needs a strong male, masculine, a healthy masculine figure they can look up to. Someone who dares to take responsibility for the society, community, the family, and his friends, and has integrity and is disciplined, and has this, let's call it sexy masculinity, right? A healthy masculinity, someone who respects others' opinion but is not afraid of saying no. We have way too much toxic masculinity due to social media, where you show all these guys that suddenly just have big cars, and when they open their mouth, they're like, what the fuck did that dude just say?
That's why women are in trouble.
What did he say about women? And what is this guy? Why are you listening? But that's what they're looking at. So they're being confused. And in the end, I believe it's up to the parents to get that in. But men, again, has been too soft. So men don't dare. And it's also, listen, we can't do anything with our kids. I have a daughter, I will never do that to my daughter because it's a girl. But my mom, she gave me a smack once in a while. And I never complained. I deserved that. So I needed that smack. And kids are not being tested. I'm not saying we should smack our kids at all. That's not what I'm walking into here. But I'm walking into, let them play outside. Let them find themselves. That's what kids, they do. We are so overprotected in today's society. We can't barely let them walk to school alone.
Exactly. Well, the world has changed quite a lot, so I believe that a lot of parents have all those threats, whether or not, but there is a reason behind it.
There's places on earth I wouldn't do it, of course. Brazil is one of them. I wouldn't do that. But, there's places in Northern Europe. That's not a problem if you're 16 years old or whatever you are.
If you could give one piece of an advice to a male who is now very lost, and that male is in their early 20s, what would that be?
I would tell him to get to the gym, stop drinking. If he hangs with friends that smokes weed or don't do drugs, skip them right away, and just decide on becoming great at something. Just try to become the best. Test yourself. That's you giving yourself a test. I don't care if it's a hobby. It's just not video games. Skip video games, skip the fake world, and get into the real world. Use your hands, use your creativity, and try to strive at becoming the best.
Yeah.
Because it's so challenging. You have to face so many fears. You have to face, like they said in the Stoics, they said, watch out what you wish for. If you want to become a wrestler, be sure you can be ready for answering yes to all these three. Number one, are you sure you're ready to do what it takes to get into the ring? That means strict diet. That means training every day, sweating, maybe getting injured. Can you say yes to that?
It's like requirements for a good job
Correct.
that you're applying for.
You ready for that? Okay, are you ready for, in the ring, whatever that can happen? You can lose your life. That was that time, right? You can lose your life. You can get injured heavily. Are you ready for what can happen after the match? You can be publicly humiliated, etc., etc. If you can say yes to all those three, you are now ready to become a wrestler. If not, you're just a boy dreaming about it. And I believe there's many boys dreaming about something. They're not ready to pay the price.
Exactly.
And that's what we have to understand. Nothing good worth having comes for free.
That's so true. I really love that you are sharing so much, which is the truth itself. Let me ask you one thing. It's a very contentious topic, and I'm really curious about your opinion. If you remember, a couple of years ago, our society has been introduced the so-called body positive movement.
Oh, God.
And, it's been changing quite a lot. Depends which country you're at.
Yeah.
And even if you look into the so-called sizeflation, if you have heard about that, that actually sizes started to become different compared to what we used to have decades ago. What's your opinion on body positive movement?
Bullshit. Listen, body positivity, the society says, your body says neglect. It's not healthy to be overweight. I'm sorry, it's not. And that's what I look at. I don't judge you for the way you look. I don't think it's pretty when people are overweight. I just don't. I don't think anyone think that's a pretty thing. You're probably a great person, but it shows lack of discipline.
But if you were in the United States, do you think you could still say these things?
I don't care what I can say or not say. I'm just going to speak the honest truth. It has never been pretty to be overweight. Reason being that we can see that you are not disciplined. And we think, what's attractive in people? Integrity, values. value, self-respect, self-love. It's very attractive. It's not attractive if you're a douchebag and you point fingers and you're a weak son of a bitch yourself. But if you are a person who speaks the truth, love ain't lies, Christina. Love ain't lies. You also have to, what is the society affected by? Capitalism. So do you think there's someone capitalizing on promoting overweight? Jordan P. Peterson, he said as well, you're not beautiful, he said, when they put an overweight woman on the front magazine of a sports magazine. What is wrong with the world? You should never promote something that is unhealthy. Whether or not we are a growing community of people being overweight, we should never promote that.
Well, I believe there's been a little bit of a shift in the
It should
previous
be.
1 or 2 years.
Listen, what do we do, Christina? If we have a person that is a drug addict, right? What do? We often, if we are friends with that person, we do an intervention. Let's help that motherfucker. He can't sit there and destroy his life. Sorry for my language, but not sorry. But let's help this dude. He needs help, right? We do an intervention. We do the same thing with an alcoholic. What about a food addict? If you look at the lifestyle diseases, like literally, what does people die from? Slowly comfort. Not moving their bodies. There's lifestyle diseases comes from eating too much processed food. We don't do an intervention with them. No, we buy clothing for them so that we can sell more to them. I don't support that.
Well, capitalism is, at the end of the day, a really, really twisted way of living. And anything and everything can go through question. Are people ready for a complete shift in their mindset?
And just I agree. Let me make it clear. I don't care. You can be fat, skinny, yellow, green. I love you just as much because you're a human. But I will still tell you the truth of how I look at it. I see it as an undisciplined, soft personality. And, in the end, I wouldn't be able to trust you. If shit hits the fan, I would see that as a coward.
Wow. Well, it just brings me to our next topic with the discussion. No, absolutely not, because you have your amazing book, Above Average, and it has become a bestseller on Amazon. So I have to admit that when I was looking for a guest speaker on LinkedIn, I saw a video with you when you were talking about something related to your book, and that made me think that, okay, let's see if this person would be available for some kind of a masterclass. And this book is about the science of achievement. There's a lot of out there about this topic, and when I first heard you talk in our masterclass for our students, it instantly made me think of a famous book, another one from Arnold Schwarzenegger, the one that I have here with me.
Yeah.
This one, Be Useful. And even the title itself is so simple. If you have ever seen him talking in a normal, natural interview, his language is simple.
Yeah.
Sometimes he talks like a child. And if you read this book, he just gives everything that he has, whatever it took him to get to the next point of success. So if you think about the parallel between this book and the one which is yours, Above Average, what do they have in common?
So, first of all, I'm not even near as successful as Arnold, and I respect that dude so much, and I love him. He's a great example for men and humans in the world. What they have in common is dream big. That's what they have. Dream big and organize yourself. And work with your mind. That's what every book has in common that has been out there. It's work with your mind. Everything is in your mind. And Christina, whatever Arnold is writing in his book has been said to us through thousands of years. But now we don't want to be given the key. We want to be given the entertainment. So we want to be entertained.
Then we're like children. That's the only conclusion what comes to
yeah.
mind.
So when I tell people, people ask me very often, and to get back to the comparison of the book, people ask me, Mike, what's the key for success? Well, why you ask me? I'm a complete up. So, but I can tell you what you should not be doing. And the price of success is hard work. You won't get anywhere without it. And of course, be a good person, be a good friend, be honest. I think honesty is something that is a commodity. People are not honest anymore. And I miss honest people. I like when people, so the way I grew the most was through my mentors. And my mentors was entrepreneurs, multi-millionaires, been building some of the biggest food ordering apps in the world. They called me out, Christina. And that was when I least wanted to hear that. But I needed that. I needed someone that I trusted that said, you need to man up, bro. Like you need to change your life. You're going the wrong way. And, that was said in a much more hard way,
I can imagine.
right? And I needed that. Okay.
Well,
So-
and let me read up something from
Yeah.
both books because it was just striking the difference. Let's say you're saying in your book, you must know what a below average mind looks and feels like.
Yeah.
And there is one famous saying from Arnold that I ran into. He said, "What is the point of being on this earth if you're going to be like everyone else?"
Yes.
Do you feel how these two citations are matching? It's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, that's true. So, but again, Christina, we always conform as humans. People, they choose to conform. We choose to be like everyone else because we fear people's judgments. You also asked me, what is the biggest excuse for people not becoming a success? Is the judgment of their friends and family. Because when they try to work hard, their friends and family will start to judge them and say, "Oh, who are you trying to be?" That's the biggest thing. They're so afraid. And also what's gonna happen, which is Arnold, who wants to be like everyone else? Like everyone wants to be like everyone else because they're safe, right? When I start to talk and speak and do what I do here, trust me, I will have people think, what a f***ing idiot. And I will also have people say, yeah, this guy's telling the truth. But that's how you get attention.
So then you divide people into two clubs. You're like extreme.
I do me. I'm authentic. And I have, my integrities, my values are in order. If I like to say f*** on a camera, let me say it, And if I want, that's it. But, deep inside, and that's the most important thing for me, I'm a good person. But people, they conform. People rather want to conform being a bad person than going against the stream being a good person. Think about that.
If you could describe with one word that Mike that you used to be as a child, what would that be?
As a child?
Yeah.
Trouble.
Trouble. Wow, sounds accurate. Well, it leads me to our final part of our conversation and little discussion here. I prepared a couple of quick questions. Do you know the Vogue questions? So
Yeah.
I will be asking
Okay.
you a couple of things and try to respond with one word, one expression, or something very, short.
Okay.
Are you ready for
Let's
that?
go. Okay.
Let's do it. You're always about discipline and self-mastery, but what's your guilty pleasure that completely goes against that?
Haagen-Dazs.
If you could pick a Marvel superhero to be for a day, who would it be?
Batman.
If you weren't an entrepreneur, what career path do you think you'd be on right now?
Actor.
What was the last lie you told yourself?
What was the last lie I told myself? I'm going to stop with nicotine bags.
Mike, with all the self-mastery you talk about, how much of your gym routine is actually about, building muscle, and how much is just flexing for the Instagram? If you could suggest a percentage, what would that percentage be?
Okay. So flexing for Instagram, it's business for me. So it's a lot about flexing for Instagram because it's business. Yeah. So percentage, it's 70% flexing for, it's a product. I'm selling it.
At least you're honest about that.
But come on, man, you can't, if you're a personal trainer and you're overweight, come on, dude, I don't trust you.
Well, what's one book that completely changed your perspective on life?
That was Wayne Dyer, New Thoughts, New Life. Change your thoughts, change your life. Wayne Dyer.
What's your go-to outfit when you want to feel unstoppable?
Underwear.
I didn't hear that. And I believe your power color is black. So should it be black underwear then? That's how we see you, running around in Marbella with your tan, flexing.
Speedos.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good to know. Well, the last thing what I wanted to ask you, can you share one last piece of an advice for our students who are part of Les Roches, trying to become role models in the hospitality sector in their early 20s? What would you say?
Yeah. Number one, be 100% yourself. That's it. But if you don't like yourself, because we don't often like ourselves, we are insecure, etc., then work on that, because you will never be able to dare to be yourself until you're so proud of who you are, right? And being proud of who you are is literally looking at all your weaknesses. Most of us, we're so good at standing on our strength. right? So that's why I say rich, ripped, rare. Because many people are very rich, but they're not so ripped. Many people are very ripped, but they're not so rich. So again, you have to stand on your weaknesses. That's why we're here. Work on your weaknesses. So again, if you want to be authentic in a career, you gotta like yourself. You have to love yourself, and to love yourself, you gotta work on yourself.
Wow, that's such a powerful message. I'm sure that so many people will relate to it. I'm so happy that you were able to be with us here today at Le Roche Talks and you could share all your experience. You were brutally honest, so you brought everything as it is by definition. Mike Radoor, the guy who comes, kicks our asses, tell us how ugly fat we are, but at the end of the day, we start thinking what to do to be the best version of ourselves. Thank you so much for having you today here. I'm so happy that we could have this nice conversation.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Love yourself. And to love yourself, you gotta work on yourself.
Wow, that's such a powerful message. I'm sure that so many people will relate to it. I'm so happy that you were able to be with us here today at Le Roche Talks and you could share all your experience. You were brutally honest, so you brought everything as it is by definition. Mike Radoor, the guy who comes, kicks our asses, tell us how ugly fat we are, but at the end of the day, we start thinking what to do to be the best version of ourselves. Thank you so much for having you today here. I'm so happy that we could have this nice conversation.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
I'm a selfish kind of person.